Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetics Millionaire Show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am joined by the one and only Chris Cagle, who's a multi-unit owner of iCRYOs in Northern Virginia and North Carolina. Thanks so much for coming on, Chris. Really appreciate you being here.
Of course. No, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you guys spending a little time with me, letting you know a little bit about what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, so let's dive into your story. You work as a defense contractor. How the hell did you get into health, wellness, and aesthetics?
Oh, well, COVID is how I got into it. This is just an odd off the wall story, but I'm glad you asked. So my amazing wife of 18 years now loves theater. She will go to high school musicals. She will go to Broadway theater. So she was consistently going to theaters. That's kind of her getaway. Mine is sports and being outdoors. Hers is being in theater. So when COVID hit, everything was shut down. So no more trips to New York for Broadway shows. Schools were all remote. And she was getting pretty stressed. She is also a nurse. She's an amazing nurse. So working in the hospital environment during COVID was stressful. I mean, COVID was stressful on everyone, not just the nurses in the community. So I had to find an outlet for her. I had to find something that she could do to kind of de-stress and to get back to where she needed to be, both in her mental health and just life in general. So I knew I had to find a theater. So on went the search. Being originally from the North Carolina area and having family still there, I called down to Charlotte to the State Theater and said, "Hey, are you guys showing any Broadway shows? Are you open?" And they said, "We're absolutely open." I said, "What's playing right now?" So they said, "Rent." Rent is her favorite musical of all times. So if there was any, I couldn't have planned it any better if I wanted to. So immediately bought plane tickets, booked us a trip to go down and see that. We went down on a Thursday, maybe the long weekend. It was going to stay till Monday. Thursday had a great time. It was good getting out, being away from, should we say, masking and some of the other things that were going on. It was good just to relax a little bit. Saturday, we woke up, and that was the day of the show, and she was not feeling well. So I said, "Oh no, is it COVID?" She said, "No, dummy, people still get regular sick. It's just, I just don't feel well." So I said, "All right, what do you need?" She said, "I need to go get an IV. I think I just need to get hydrated pretty well." So I said, "All right, are we going to an emergency room? What are we doing here?" And she said, "No, again, dummy, there are places you can go to get nutraceutical IVs." Well, at that point in time, after 14, 15 years of marriage, obviously I still wasn't listening to her the way I probably should have been. But she said, "Let's find a place that has it." So we searched out and found a place that did nutraceutical IVs. They did cryotherapy. They did red light therapy. I knew nothing about any of these things.
Was this one of Ernie's locations?
Myself. I'm sorry?
Was this one of Ernie's locations?
This was not one of Ernie's locations. This is one of our competitors' locations that I went to. I did not know Ernie at that point in time. Yeah, Mr. Remillard was not in my life at that point in time, but we went to the location. I got an IV, did some cryotherapy, kind of got a tour of the center. While I was getting my IV, I looked over and said, "Man, we have nothing like this in Northern Virginia. Like the DC market, we have nothing like this." And it's amazing. The services were amazing. The kicker for me was we checked out, we left there. Later that day, my wife was back to her normal self. She felt like $1,000,000, had her glow back, had her feel back, had her spontaneity and spunk all back, which I loved. We went to the show, had a great show. She enjoyed it, and we enjoyed the rest of our weekend. And I said, man, something like that made her feel that good, which she doesn't get sick that often. And when she does, it's usually pretty bad. And it was immediate relief. I had all the energy in the world, and I was like, man, we've got to look into this. So I started calling franchise locations and franchisors and looking at who had options in my area. I narrowed it down to 3 options. iCRYO was one of the options that I had. Flew out to the corporate headquarters, met Kyle Jones and a bunch of the executive team. Kyle is obviously the CEO of iCRYO there, and just felt that their culture, their values and how they were moving forward just best aligned for me at that point in time out of all of the franchise options that I had. So at that point in time, I was looking for one location. I wanted to open one here in my hometown of Ashburn, Virginia. So I said, I want to open one here in Ashburn. So we, obviously they had to do their due diligence on me. I did the same on them a little further. They came back and said, you sure one's all you want? And I said, well, yeah, one's all I want. But they made me some options to be a multi-unit owner. I looked at them, evaluated them, and said, if I'm going to take everything that I've saved for my entire life and open this location, then go big or go home. So at that point in time, I signed on the line for 10 locations. And that's kind of how it started.
Can we stop there for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's important because you made a really big bet. So, because I assume you paid extra to reserve your territory too?
Yes.
Okay. So what was in your head at that point, like the long-term vision? Hey, was it like, hey, if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go 110% in and I'm going to open one, I'm going to perfect it, and I'm going to open more? Like, how did you decide that you wanted to own multiple locations? Because a lot of people, they go into health and wellness and aesthetics, and they're like, hey, I want to open one. I want to do a good job. If it goes well, I'll open more and go from there.
So there's 2 parts to that. The first part was I was not an independently wealthy person. I work, in defense contracting most of my entire life. I think we lived a very humble life, but we struggled with like everything else. But I figured if I was going to liquidate my 401k and take all of the savings that I had to open this location, if it didn't work, I was moving back in with my parents. I didn't want to do that at 45 years old at that point in time. But I said, if it doesn't work, we're moving back in with my parents because we've lost everything. So I said, here's the deal. If 1 fails, I'm moving back in with my parents. If 10 fails, I'm still moving back in with my parents. I'm broke either way. Why not go big or go home? So I was going to be broke if it didn't work either way. And I think I've worked hard enough to know I was going to do everything I can to make sure it was successful. That was part 1. Part 2 is this. I will use, let's use the restaurant industry just because I like bashing them at times, even though I have plenty of friends that own restaurants. Let's use a big fast food chain. So if we go a big fast food chain, and we won't mention any of them, but you go to one of them and you have a terrible experience. Like, it's a terrible experience. They forget your food. They mix it up. They have it wrong. Well, the next time that you pass one of those locations, the only thing you're thinking about is, I don't want to go to that because the last time I went there, it was a terrible experience. So my thought process was opening 1 versus opening 10. If I open 10 locations, I'm going to control the market, the marketing, the customer service, and I can control the experience out of all of those locations. What I didn't want is someone to go to another iCRYO location 10 miles from me and receive a subpar experience and then not come into mine because of the experience they had elsewhere. So if there was anybody to blame, it was just me. So control of the market, the marketing, the sales, the pricing, that was important to me to be able to control all of that because I had no one to blame but myself. Those were the 2 biggest things that went into me signing on the dotted line for 10 that ultimately is now, up to, I think I have 33 locations, I think, that I'm now on the hook for opening.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the background.
Yeah. So for everybody listening, and feel free to share as little or as much details as possible. I know you put in a lot of your own savings, which you're like, hey, I kind of have to do this because it's a hefty ticket. Did you seek any partners, internal investment, stuff like that? And for anybody that wants to go big like you, what is the advice you can give them for, like, you know, pitching, either pitching the vision to their spouse, which is going to be a partner, or pitching the vision to somebody with capital who can, you know, come in and help you, you know, like you said, go big or go home to your parents.
Yeah. So we went down a couple routes in the beginning. The SBA is the route that we looked at in the beginning, but what a painful and slow process that is, right? That process was just painful and slow. Ultimately, through a mutual friend of mine, we had a mutual friend that still owns a company here in the area. And, you know, a high net worth individual who had disposable income and resources to assist. So I sat down with him, kind of outlined the vision, and from there, he agreed to loan me some capital at market rate to basically fund the location getting off the grounds at a broader scale and give us some working capital we were going. So for me, I had lots of individuals who had reached out saying, hey, we can help and we can do this. But to me, it was finding the right partner, not just a partner. It was finding someone who had not only the resources and the capital to come in and assist in the rapid expansion, but someone who could lend experience and that could give you a little bit of knowledge, for lack of a better word, on business in general and how to go forward. So I did reach out. We came to an agreement where he had loaned me the capital to move forward and to get the first two locations that I started up off the ground, which we did. And, you know, they're two of the most successful locations in iCRYO. So I think it was a good deal for him and, you know, getting his money back rapidly and quickly. And for me, it helped me expand a lot faster than going the traditional funding route.
Yeah, I think that's something to know. I know a lot of people go to SBA for the loans to get their business off the ground, but it's good that you were able to present your vision and have somebody who not only had the funds but also could guide you in the right direction too.
Sure.
Right? All right, let's talk about the early days then. I know you, like you said, you had a lot of capital, so you're like, hey, I have the resources. I have this blueprint of a business, but I still need to put it to work, and I still need to get customers. I still need to do a good job for them. And just because I have a business doesn't mean I'm going to be successful, right? I need to make some money. So let's talk about those early days and how did you wrap your head around this? I know from experience you're very regimented, you're very disciplined, you're methodical and process oriented, which I'm sure helped. But yeah. Talk to us a little bit about your experience about opening the business. Like, you know, how much support did you have from the franchise side, and you know, how much time, because you're obviously working at this time still when you started a business. So, you know, how did you balance everything out? What was like, what did you prioritize in the beginning to get this to grow as fast as it did?
Sure. Everything wrapped around customer acquisition. So in the very beginning, we had a good blueprint. I mean, corporate provides a good blueprint of how to do this. But this world is not a business in a box. It's a business that comes with a box, right? But in that box are all the things you need to then bolt onto the business. So it's very different than opening for, say, something like a Chick-fil-A. It's very different because it's its own animal. So I knew we didn't have the name recognition. So that's where I started. My focus in the beginning was name recognition. I could have the best product in the world. I believe in what we do and how we do it. I believed in the services making people better. But if you can have the best product in the world, but if no one knows you're there, you're not going to be successful. So in the very beginning, because I think it's important to focus on the pre-opening stages, to me, the pre-opening stages will make or break your business. And I've seen it in multiple models. I've seen it in my competitors that have come into the market over the past 2 years and then fallen out of the market and gone away. They're not here anymore. A lot of that is because their focus was not on the business. It wasn't on customer acquisition. It was, hey, how do we make the process as good as we can get it? Which process is important, don't get me wrong. But without customers, your process is irrelevant. So pre-sales to me was my focus. We started doing pre-sales about 120 to 130 days out. The problem that I ran into in pre-sales is I'm asking people to sign up for a pass at my location.
That's not even open.
That's not even open, right? So I'm asking them to give me their credit card. I'm not going to charge you until we open, but I wanted your credit card to get you as a customer on file in my system. And consistently, all I heard from people was, I love to do this. As soon as you open, give me a call. I got that more than anything in the world. I mean, a lot of time it wasn't the money because I don't think what we charged was outrageous, but it was once you open, then let's have that conversation. So I sat down and said, all right, I've got to figure out a way to overcome these objections, right? And I'm not a trained salesperson. I am absolutely, was never done sales before in my life other than, trying to sell my wife on the golf trip that I wanted to take. That was about my extent of sales.
Can we pause for a second on what you just said about people not wanting to commit before they actually knew that they could come in?
Sure.
I do think it's important, and I think the lesson learned is like speed to delivery, speed to results.
Absolutely.
Like people want it now, the convenience, right? And you were like, and they're like, hey, like, yeah, it looks good. Maybe the offer is great, but I want it right now. I want to come in the next 10 days, not in 2 months. Right?
Absolutely. We live in the Amazon world. Everybody wants it now, right? They want same day delivery. They want Grubhub. They want DoorDash. When they want it now. So trying to overcome that is a huge hurdle because people are now pre-programmed to want it now. So in order for you to build that customer base, you have to give them an offer that's so good they can't tell you no, right? They have to think about this and say, if I don't do this, then I'm a dummy and I'm missing out. So you have to make the offer not unbelievable, because unbelievable becomes just that, unbelievable. It has to be so good they can't tell you no.
Yeah, the opportunity cost of missing out.
Yes. People don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to miss out. So I said, hey, how do I make them not want to miss out? What do I do? So I thought about it and I said, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to open my center 2 weeks early. And over that 2-week period, anybody who puts their faith in me and allows me to show them the services that we have and allows me to give them 2 weeks of services to get used to it, to understand it and see it. Anybody who puts their faith in me, I'm going to give them 2 weeks free. They can come in and for a 2-week period, we have 3 levels of passes that we offer. Basically a basic, a premium, and an elite. A basic gives you X amount per month. Premium gives you a little bit more. Elite basically gives you daily services. I said, I'm going to get everybody. They can sign up for a basic pass, but I'm going to give them an elite pass for 2 weeks. I called it the free 2-week period. So for 2 weeks, come in and try all the services.
Do you still do this at all?
I haven't done it in a while, but I'm about to re-roll it back out.
And do you require a credit card at all?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
yes.
put your credit card on file, 2 weeks. If you're happy, this is how much you're going to pay moving forward on a subscription. If you're not happy, you can cancel.
Yes, exactly. All they had to do is at the end of that 2-week period, if they're not completely satisfied and don't believe the services that we offer are what I told them they were, walk to the front desk and simply say, hey, I'd like to cancel. No obligation, no commitments. All I'm doing is for that free 2-week period. So I started calling people, and that's what I started offering them once they say, hey, once you're open. I said, hey, it's great. I'd love for you to do it, but tell you what I'll do. How about I'm going to give you 2 weeks free with our Elite Pass. It's just going to be to our founding pass holders. I'm going to basically reduce the rate. We're going to lock you into the cheapest rate we'll ever have. We're going to give you 2 weeks free. At the end of the 2 weeks, if you don't love it, simply walk to the front desk and cancel. I'll shake your hand, and I'll thank you for the time that you gave us. That free 2 weeks, I called corporate and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And Mr. Jones told me I was crazy and I was going to tank my business. He said, there's no way you can operate for 2 weeks, not bringing in revenue and be successful. Turns out that my first location that I opened there in One Loudon, opened the location with almost 400 members. It is more members than any iCRYO has ever opened up with, and we to this day still have more members than any other iCRYO there, and it's well north of that number now. But the key to that was I gave them the ability to tell me yes, and they could walk away knowing they were getting something for saying yes. And what they were getting was 2 weeks in my center for free.
No
that
payment.
free 2 week period was a game changer in getting people to sign up. And it turned out that, the mentality behind that was I gave everybody an Elite Pass so they could come in every day and do services every day. I didn't cap them on how many they could do. So they could come in, do all the services every day for the 2 week period. What kind of happened was the offset of that, where the people who signed up for a basic pass, which gives them access to 6 services over a month, those people were doing 6 services in a day. So at the end of that 2 week period, they decided to go forward and stay, pass holders and guests of ours. So when they were extending their pass and letting us know, hey, I'm going to continue. I love this. I want more of this. We reminded them, hey, you've had the Elite Pass for the last 2 weeks. You signed up for the basic pass. So you're going to be able to do 6 services over the course of a month. And they said, well, wait a minute. I've been doing 6 services a day. We understand that. But you, at the beginning, signed up for 6 services in a month. Be more than happy to upgrade you to the Elite Pass, still lock you into that founding rate, and we'll allow you to keep your founding rate. We'll just upgrade you to Elite. I would say 70% of the guests that we had upgraded for that point in time because they had been doing these services and got addicted and hooked on them over that 2 week period, which at the end of that 2 week period, they said, oh man, I can't go back to doing, 2 a week or 3 a week. I need to go back to doing 2 or 3 a day. So they immediately upgraded, and it allowed more recurring revenue that I had because those individuals got hooked on that. I hate to use the old school crack dealer mentality, but that's what it was. You gave them a little taste and they realized they wanted more of it. And it worked out really, really well.
Can you walk us through some of the key things that you did in those 2 weeks that really helped your new clients understand the value of what you provide and really truly have a good customer experience, which then paved the way for them to stay with you? And also, did you guys employ any sales strategies or tactics during those 2 weeks to ensure that these people would stay?
Sure, absolutely. First and foremost, any person coming into your center, I noticed that, and I visited a lot of centers. During our pre-sales process and before we opened, I visited other locations to see how they did things. One of the things that I noticed is too many sales staff or sales associates focused on the science behind the equipment, which the science behind the equipment is important. But what's more important is explaining to the guest why that piece of equipment is going to help them with their problem. So they told him about this big $150,000 cryo chamber and how well it would work and what was going on with it and fight or flight response, but they never equated that to how it was going to help the person. So what we focused on is when someone comes through our doors, whether they've been in the doors 2,000 times or this is the second time, we still do this. Our first location's been open for almost 2 years. We still do this to this day. When guests come in, we know them by name, we know their family, we know their kids, we know their dogs, but we still ask them, how can we help you today? What is the problem that we're faced with today? In doing that, you're ensuring that whatever their problem is, you're focusing in on that problem and you're solving that problem for them that day. Because they could have originally come in for a knee replacement surgery and they're trying to get healed, but today they have back problems. And if you never follow up with them to find out what their goal is of that day or that week, you're never going to be able to service that guest the way they need to be serviced. So that is that guest experience and ensuring that whatever the problem is they're walking in with, you're solving that problem, not a problem they had a year ago when they came in. In doing that, you will instill confidence in the customer. They'll understand that they are the priority, not their wallets, and that you truly are trying to solve that problem. And if you solve that problem of today for them, when they have a problem tomorrow, they'll come to you to solve that problem tomorrow because they'll remember the problem that you solved today. So focus on the problem of the day. Focus on the why, should we say, why that person is there. But too many times we don't focus on why the person is there. We focus on why they came in 2 months ago. And things change. I turn 50 years old next week. So I'll be 50 next week. I wake up today with aches and pains that I didn't have 3 weeks ago. So focus on the problems of the day and you will turn around their life and their problems. So that's one of the things that we focus on there. The second part has to be the guest experience. We have to elevate the guest experience. When someone comes into your clinic or your center, if you are not focused on making them the only person in that room, you've already failed. They have to feel like they are the only person there and they are the most important person in the room.
Can I pause? Can I pause there for a second?
Absolutely.
And just talk a little bit more about this because this is such an important point. And this is any guests, right? And whether they come from paid advertising or a referral or from the street or whatever it is, you should always have the same first impression, first visit process, the same consultation, all that stuff, right? You shouldn't treat anybody differently, I think is what you're trying to point here.
Absolutely.
Is, hey, whoever comes in, they haven't had an experience with your business. They have other options now, Sure. And unfortunately, after you open up, there's other people who open up after you, obviously.
Yes.
Seeking a similar opportunity. So, and we know that health and wellness and aesthetics, this sector has grown, by 10x in the last 5 years, right? So
easily. Yeah.
So it's like, hey, which coffee shop am I going to, or which health and wellness and aesthetics place am I going to? So people have a lot of options. They also have a lot of distrust, right? So, and providers these days. So I think you bring up a really good point that you have to make sure. I love what you said. It's like you treat that person as if they're the only person in that room, even though there's other guests or customers there, and make sure that you make an absolutely amazing first impression. I also want to just highlight and emphasize what you said about, hey, what can I help you with today is super important. Like, I know I can help you with a lot of stuff, but what which comes out in a consultation, which we'll get into, but what can I help you with today? I think I love that you said that, because I think a lot of people these days, they're just like, these people are trying to sell me. Everybody's trying to sell me something. We're bombarded by ads, bombarded by information, bombarded by offers, bombarded by products. People are trying to sell me, but that comes out as more genuine, authentic. Is like, how can I actually help you?
Yeah.
If I can help you, I'm gonna sell you because I want to help you.
Sure, and it's such an underrated thing when it comes to the experience and ensuring that every person, feels that. So I use it all the time. Someone, in going to other locations and competitors, I've gone to them because I want to learn, because I think we all can learn from each other. But a lot of times I would say book a compression therapy session somewhere. So I would go in, I would walk in, and they would say, hey, you're booked for compression. And I would say, yes. They'd go back, they'd put me in compression. And then when I was done,
you were compressed.
Yeah, I was compressed, I was depressed, and then I walked out. So, I train our staff that when someone comes in, and just because they're booked for compression, that's fine. Book them for compression. But once they get in compression and they've got, compression sleeves on their legs and talk to them. I see you're in compression. Is there anything else that we can help you with today? And what is the goal of the day? Let's find out from them what their goal is and find out how we can make that better. Maybe compression is what they're doing because that's what they did before, but maybe cryo is what they really need. Maybe our hyperbaric chamber is what they need. Maybe it's our red light bed. We have a lot of options. So let's talk to them while they're sitting. It's 30 minutes they're in the bed. They can't go anywhere. They're literally stuck for 30 minutes there. Let's talk to them about what's going on in their life and how we can help them. It's little stuff like when someone gets out of compression, my staff all knows they will lose, the entire staff will lose their commission for the day. I don't care if we did $28,000 that day. They will all lose their commission if one guest takes themselves out of compression. These people come to us for an elevated experience. Let them do as little as possible. We should put the compression on them. We should bring them water multiple times, or at least ask them why they're sitting there, because obviously they can't get up and get it. When they're done with compression, we should know how much time they have left. Walk by while you're talking to them, look at the machine, see how much time. And when it's done, unzip the boots, take them off of them, and ask them if there's anything else you can help them with. They should be doing nothing. It should be an elevated experience for every person that comes in. Even when it comes to our dressing rooms, we hand them the stuff that they need for the dressing rooms. They know where the dressing rooms are. We do over 5,000 visits a month in each of my locations. So people know where the dressing rooms are. We walk them to the dressing rooms. We close the door for them. We turn the sign to say in use. The little things like walking them back just gives them that elevated experience. This person is taking care of me. It comes down to paying attention. The little things that you pay attention to are the little things they'll notice that make a difference and set you apart from your competitors. And you've got to set yourself apart. You have to set yourself apart from everybody else. I love that you brought up the point there about, we ask the questions and we treat everybody the same. I had a very high profile athlete that consistently came into our center this year and last year for some ailments and recovery. He sat me down right before a playoff game in January, and he thanked me for everything that we've done, for keeping him on the field and being able to play at the highest level that he could play at. And he said, you have a super successful center here. And he said, I once heard a quote that stuck with me. Now, this gentleman is 24 years old. I am coming up on 50. I didn't think he was ever going to be able to drop a knowledge bomb on me, but he absolutely did, and I love him for it, and it shows how smart he actually is. He told me, he said, the reason people come here and they continuously come back, and I've talked to people, and he is a very high-profile athlete, but everybody knows he's a normal person. He's a regular person. Let's treat him as such. He said, the reason people come back here, and they come here every day, is because you treat ordinary people extraordinary, and you treat us extraordinary people normal. And to me, it was a wow moment for me, because this is somebody who really reiterated that we elevate the experience for the normal person, but the person who already has an elevated lifestyle and is constantly pestered and battled and is always getting hit up for this and that, we just treat them like a normal person. So they get to relax. They don't have to worry about the pressures of the world. And to me, it struck a nerve, and it was that point of this year that I said, you know what, we might be doing this right. And it was kind of earth shattering, for me, just someone giving you that confirmation that, hey, what you're doing probably it's working. But I think that's something that we all can learn from. Treat the normal person extraordinary and treat that extraordinary person normal. And some of these people that walk into our center, maybe they are, foregoing the Starbucks so they could come into our center and get better. There are other individuals that walk in and could drop 30 grand and don't bat an eye at it. But to me, treat the janitor like you do the CEO, and you'll always be successful.
Yeah, and even if they haven't experienced, they'll try to make it work financially. If they can't make it work financially, you can get a 5-star Google review, for example. Sure. Maybe you get a referral. Maybe when they can make it, they'll come back. So that experience is super important, right? Never judge a book by its cover kind of comes up here. So yeah. I love that because everybody's like, everybody wants the best customers. We want people who have discretionary incomes. And I tell you, at my spot, I mean, I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, very lower to middle class type of tier 2 city. And there's a
great
lot of
whitewater rafting, though.
Great whitewater rafting.
Yes.
10 minutes from my house, Chris. So
yes,
I'll see you there. And a lot of the customers I get they're just very hardworking people.
Sure.
They're very hardworking people who they haven't had the time, they haven't prioritized their image, their body image, their well-being, and and we specifically cater to people who are busy professionals, moms who are like, hey, I need to change, and I feel like this is an opportunity. And yes, a lot of them do finance their treatment plans, but they make it work because we treat them all the same. And we'll get into process, but we have a really good, initial visit process where it's like we give them a robe, we give them disposable like underwear, they want an eye mask, we want an eye mask, we give them a water, all the things you should be doing. And sure. At the least, I just want to make sure that they remember they had a great first visit. At the most, they're going to become long-term customers of ours and buy a nice, sizable treatment plan, and we'll help them get through the transformation. But I think that really resonates with me, and to me, it's like, hey, they're spending money, they're a good customer to me, right?
Yes.
So we definitely should treat them all the same. You're big on training and processes.
Yes.
And I'm sure that that customer experience and all these things you talked about are a part of it without doubt. So what do you do typically? I know you train a lot before you open your centers. That's been big for you to make sure people are ready. How does it look like? Is it Chris Cagle policy book? Is a process book? Like, what does it look like when a new employee joins you? Because I know that you're very, very, I said this before, regimented, and I'm making sure that, like you said, your new customers especially, and your existing customers, have that elevated experience, and that, we work out any kinks in a process, and that, when they come in, they really do feel valued.
Sure. It's a Chris Cagle model. It's a model that my wife and I, and she's a big piece of this. Allison,
it's Allison Cagle model. It's just
Allison Cagle. Yes, she's a huge piece of this. And I couldn't do it without her. But so we got together and said, that just handing out a training manual isn't going to work, and we realized quickly that it's just not going to work here. So we devised a plan, and here's how it goes today. We have something called iCRYO University. It's a bunch of online courses. It teaches them everything about cryotherapy, about red light therapy, all the modalities we have. It explains all the modalities to you. It explains the POS system. So kind of going through all the equipment that we have and all the services that we use, that it's online classes, and it has some quick tests afterwards that you have to pass in order to move to the next module. So in order for someone to come into the center, first things first, they must take all of the iCRYO University courses before they are scheduled to start in center. They all have to be taken, and you have to pass them. That requires them to have a basic understanding of the job before they come in, which we think is extremely important. Once they come in, they're going to spend 3 days with one of my training managers, myself, my wife. You're going to spend 3 days with a manager. And those 3 days are going to be going over everything that you learned in university, making sure you retained it, answering any questions that you have, going through, the power questions. Why are you here? How can we help you? What are your goals? What is the ailment that brought you in for today, preventing you from doing tomorrow? Asking that person basically their why. Why are they there? So it's going through that process with them. After that 3 days, if we believe they're ready, then we will release them to the floor. But when I say I release them to the floor, I really call it my picture period, right? The picture period is a little different. You see there's a picture on the wall behind me. So for a 20 to 40 hour period, they're in that picture period. That picture behind me, since we've been on this call, has never said a word. Like, it's a picture. They're meant to be seen and not heard. So over that 20 to 40 hour period, you are just shadowing another employee. Now, whether it's an RN that we bring in, whether it's a body sculpting specialist, whether it's a health and wellness specialist, you're going to follow one of your peers and listen to what they do for a 20 to 40 hour period. And everybody says, well, who gets 20 hours, who gets 40 hours? I have no idea. That is up to you. That is up to that person. Some people pick it up in 20 hours. Some people pick it up in 40. Some people it needs 60. I really don't give a damn how long it takes you in that shadow period. What's more important to me is once you pick it up and we think you're ready, can you compete with your peers? So that picture period is where you're just learning, you're watching what they're doing, how they're interacting with the guests, what they're saying, how they're making that experience elevated for them. And then at the end of that period, we'll sit down and have a conversation between me, the employee, the training manager, and we'll decide whether that person is ready or whether they need some more time shadowing. If we think they're ready, they're going to hit the floor. They're going to go ahead and they're going to be able to work the front desk. They're going to be able to work as a health and wellness specialist, an RN, or whatever it may be, whatever their role is, they'll be able to perform that role without shadowing. Now, we always have, obviously, supervision for them because they're still new employees. But it's a good 2-week process, for lack of a better term, that we have before anyone actually is going to really start interacting with guests. So we want to make sure that they know the process, know the services, understand what it takes to do this job, and to be successful in doing it.
Got it. Let's talk about consultation mastery, which I think, as it relates to sales, is probably number one, in my opinion.
Sure.
In our industry, in health, wellness, aesthetics, consultation's number one. What are some of your key things in a consultation? How do you structure your intake forms? How do you structure your initial visits that's focused on getting that outcome, which is conversion? And how do you keep your teams kind of streamlined and accountable to making sure that, hey, we got to execute those things to make sure we get those outcomes in place?
Sure. So, a lot to unpack there, but let's go in the order you brought it up. So the consultation process. The intake forms are all done the moment someone walks in the door. So as soon as they come in and they reach our podiums right up front, we'll ask them their name. We'll, welcome them into the center. We'll see that, hey, they're here for A, B, or C. We'll confirm what they're here for. We'll then have them fill out the intake forms right there. If it's a new guest coming through the door, we have them fill all of that out up front, because regardless of whether they buy or not, we've captured their information. So before we even give a tour of the center, we capture that information for them. Basically, name, address, phone number, email address. We want to get that information at a minimum. If we can get them to fill out all the waivers, we'll do that. But that's information we capture the moment you walk through the door. Now, whether they're there for an aesthetic consultation and body sculpting, whether they're there for an IV or just for our lifestyle services, we're going to give them a tour of the center. So we're going to, when they first come in, get them checked in, get all those forms filled out, the intake forms, and then that's when the health and wellness specialist, the RN, the body sculpting specialist is going to take over and then find out why they're there. Like, it's going to be easy. Hey, Neil, what brings you in today? What made you decide?
You said it, like, how can I help you today?
Absolutely. Yes. We need to figure out the why they're there, what's bothering them, what their goals are, and the important question that I don't think we ask enough in this industry is making them realize they have a problem. Everyone has an ailment. I don't care who you are. Something hurts every day on somebody, or there's a problem that they're either not comfortable with or they just are embarrassed about. I mean, we all have it, whether it's weight loss, whether it's excess fat here, whether it's I'm just not in good shape. We all have a problem. You have to point the problem out to them. So, I mean, one of the power questions that we ask is...
Or help them point it out to you.
Or help them point it out to us so they realize they have the problem. But I'm going to ask you, if let's just say Neil comes in with a back problem, right? I'm going to say, Neil, how long have you had the back problem? Because we need to figure that out. Like, how long have they had it? This is during the tour. We want to ask this before we even start. How long have you had the back problem? Then I know whether it's a long-term or an acute problem. What have you done to solve the problem? That's going to let you know how much money they've spent up to this point trying to solve the problem that they have. And what has not worked. I don't care what's worked, because then you're stressing to them, go back to that person. I want to find, hey, what hasn't worked for you? Because if I have something in the center that hasn't worked, I'm not going to focus on it. But I'm going to ask them what hasn't worked and let them see the laundry list of things that they've paid for that haven't worked. So it's planting that seed of, this is what hasn't worked for me and this is how much money I've spent. And then you're going to ask that last all-important question that you're going to use for the next 30 minutes to an hour. Neil, if you didn't have the back problems tomorrow, what would you do tomorrow that you can't do today? That is the most important question I'm telling you that we do not ask, that we need to ask. You need to get them thinking about doing the thing they can't do. And I equate it to this, which we'll probably get into if we get there, but think about females. Not to pick on females, because I have 4 sisters, a daughter, and a wife. But if a female goes in to buy a dress, they don't just go buy a dress. The first thing they do is they take that dress and they go to the dressing room and try it on, right? They need to see themselves in that dress in order to understand that's the dress they want to buy. So using that analogy, when I ask Neil what he can't do that he wants to do, let's just say Neil says play golf. I can't play golf. So everything that I'm doing is reminding Neil that consistent use of this modality is going to get him back on the golf course, kicking his buddy's ass again and taking their money, right? That's what I'm going to do. So consistent use of cryotherapy is going to reduce the inflammation. It's going to help that blood circulation. It's going to reduce that pain, and it's going to get you back on the golf course faster, kicking your buddy's asses. Dry float. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to relax, take all the tension, all those spine, muscles, and nerves, allow your body to heal itself so you can get back on the golf course. You have to make them see themselves doing that before they do it to get them to commit to doing it. If they have the dream and you remind them of the dream and what it looks like, you're one step closer to being there. So,
and set realistic expectations too.
Yeah, realistic expectations. So that process is done throughout the entire tour. Now, let's just say it's body sculpting. If they're doing some sort of body sculpting, we're still going to give them a tour of the center. We're going to explain how the things work together, how compression therapy is going to help with that lymphatic flush once we're helping reduce the fat. So when we do a body sculpting consult, we want to get them in a room that looks nice, that looks upscale, looks elevated, but I don't want any equipment in that ring. I don't want to do these in the body sculpting ring. I want a consult room. I want them to be in a room where they feel comfortable, where you are not pointing out all these machines you're going to use to them and have them overwhelmed by what's doing it. It's a simple conversation.
Interesting. What does the consult room look like in your center?
The consult room in our center has 2 really nice chairs. It's got a table in between each of the chairs where you're kind of facing each other. I have a TV up in there that is always playing some nature stuff on it, whether it's whales or birds or something. It's got a table that has some brochures and some flyers that we can refer back to. And it's got really nice pictures, a big sign of Virginia on the back of it in the Virginia centers I'm talking about. But it's just a nice, relaxing looking room. But it's also an upscale looking room. I don't want to say an expensive room.
Do you have a mirror in there?
We do not have a mirror in there. No.
Interesting. Okay,
there's no mirror, but I do have a Sika scale in there. So my Sika scale is in that room so we can, show them what they're looking for. I'm not a huge fan of mirrors in the center because mirrors lie to you. And the reason mirrors lie to you is because if you look at yourself every day, you'll never notice the changes in your body, right? A scale is the biggest way to do it, but don't step on it every day because you're not going to notice the difference. So no mirrors in there, just, the TV that's there, relaxing, and you can have that private consult with them. But we're talking to them in that room, not about what we can do for them, but what they would like to accomplish. What are their goals? You need to find out from them what motivates them. Is it trying to get into that new black dress? Is it trying to look better in that bikini? Is it trying to just slim down for a wedding? We have to figure out what's motivating them to be in that center for that day. Once they tell me what their goals are, then we can then tailor a course of action to them and a method to get them to reaching their goals. But I always like to let them know the good, bad, and the ugly. So I'm going to tell them, realistically, this is how long it's going to take to do this. So we have to have some real expectations of this is how long your goal is going to take you. Let them know what they're going to have to do on their side outside of here to make sure that we meet those goals. And we have to have an agreement that they're going to be committed to doing this if we go forward. And here's why we do that. You got to have their buy-in, right? If you don't have their buy-in, then you're already in trouble. And in doing that, you also are letting them know that I'm just not here for your money. I'm here for your health. I'm here to help you meet those goals, but we have to work as a partnership to do this. And if you're not willing to do that, I'm not willing to take your money. And I tell people that all the time. If you're not willing to do this, I don't think it's right, and I don't think this is the best course of action for you. There are other options that are going to be better for you. This is not the right one. And in doing that, you build trust. You build rapport, and you build trust that you're not afraid to tell them, I'm not taking your money, because we both have to be willing to do this. I can't be the only one that's working here. You got to work with me to do this and to obtain this outcome. And in doing that, you will increase the trust and the amount of sales that you have if you're not afraid to tell them this is not right for them. I tell people all the time that come in body sculpting, you are not a good candidate for this. I am not selling this to you because you're not a good candidate for it. You're not going to get the results that you want. Now, we have GLP-1s that are going to get you to that point, and I have other options that may not have the margins, that may not have the high profit margins, like I said, to get them there, but they can get there. And then once they get to that point that we think now body sculpting is right for them, where we can kind of kick that in and work in conjunction or switch over to the other one, then we can do that. But don't be afraid to tell a guest no, you can't help them.
I literally knew we were going to come to this point in the conversation. I knew it. I think it's super important because, one, you're doing them a disservice if you sell them on something that you can't fulfill. Two, they're just not going to have the results. and it will just fire back at you. And, every single customer could be your brand ambassador. So they could,
Yes.
so they're micro influencers that they can bring their friends, family, colleagues, whatever. So you're losing that. You're being honestly just dishonest. And I think they're going to just respect you for it. Which I think is honest as well.
100%. Yeah, you nailed it. All of those are exactly why we do it the way we do it. We preach in there, and I even go through it when I'm doing interviews, because we do want sales trained professionals to do this at some point in time, along with health and wellness specialists. But I tell them we specialize in ethical sales. I never want to sell somebody something just to sell it to them. I want to sell it to them. I want them to see the results, so they not only give me money today, they give me money every day for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And if you work in ethical sales where you truly are driving that guest to the ultimate goal that's going to make them look better and feel better, you won't lose. And I say it all the time. We specialize in making people look better and feel better. So in that process, you have to keep that first and foremost, whether it's training your staff, whether it's updated training that you do, or whether it's that consultation process. Don't ever be afraid to tell a guest, I can't help you, right? You can tell them what will help them. And even if I have to push them somewhere else, I'll push them somewhere else. I don't mind telling them this is another option for them. Because when they do get to that point, a few things happen. Number one, you just told them they can't get in on this exclusive thing that you have. So they're either going to work to get themselves to the point where they can because of that FOMO, that fear of missing out. Or when they do go and they work and they get to the point where they're like, I'm going to go back, you're going to be the first person on their mind because they're going to be like, they were right. They didn't try to just sell me something. And I'm going to go back there and see if I now qualify because I want to be a part of something like that where they actually are going to help me, not just take my money. Because it's important. People talk. Reviews are real. I mean, again, I mentioned earlier, we live in that Amazon society. Everyone checks your reviews. I don't care if you're buying shoes or, my wife right now buying, house furniture. Everyone checks reviews. So make sure you don't give a person a reason to not come back. Always give them a reason to come back. And that's part of that elevated experience, whether it's a consult process and you being honest and open with them, or it's a tour of the center. You have to make sure that you set those realistic expectations for the guest.
Yeah, amen. Let's talk about, we're coming up here to the slow end here. So I have one more important question and then a couple fun ones for you.
Okay.
Let's talk about KPIs and tracking data. I already know that you know your numbers. So
yes.
I think obviously one of the big things is, I'm just going to list them down and then I want to ask you a couple, but how many people are coming in how many new people are coming in every month? What is our retention? How much are people spending every single month, and how long they're staying, and what is their annual and then lifetime value? I know you have a few centers. Can you walk us through how important it is for you, or for everybody really, and generally, to track these things? And have you figured out what your LTV is since you've started per customer? Because I'd love to hear some of those numbers. I think they're extremely important. And I think in every single industry, we can't deny that data tells a story and we should pay attention to it.
Sure. So you have to know your numbers. I mean, I can't stress that enough. If you're not looking at your numbers on a weekly basis, you're doing a disservice to your business.
Then where are you going, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important metrics that I look at on a monthly basis is my sales per hour per staff, right? What is my staff's sales per hour? It's a number that I don't think enough people look at, but I think it's a telling number. Let's just say you're paying someone $30 an hour, but their sales per hour are $15. You have a problem. that means that person is literally costing you $15 for every hour they're in there. Now, if that individual is not there for sales and they're just there to do the laundry, that number is just fine. But in my center, we all sell. So knowing what your average sales per hour is extremely important.
I love that. Everybody sells culture.
Yes. I mean, you've got to have that conversation with them. You've got to go to them and say, hey, you're being paid $30 an hour, but your sales per hour are $20 an hour. You're only selling $20 worth of services every hour that you're here. And unfortunately, I'm upside down. So I would save money by not bringing you in tomorrow.
So do you have a commission structure for all of your employees then? To talk us through that, because I think that's an important point.
Absolutely. Yes. So we have two types of sales staff in my center. I basically have our health and wellness specialist, and then we have our medical professionals, which are our RNs, right? So all of my full medical suite's only staffed by licensed nurses. So they're there. And then we have our estheticians and our health and wellness specialist on the other side. So I have two different commission structures for them. The health and wellness have one commission structure, which does not include medical sales. So estheticians, health and wellness, they are not permitted to sell medical services. Number one, it's a sticky widget in the medical world where I don't want them recommending medical services as a non-medical professional. So our health and wellness estheticians can sell all the lifestyle services that we have in our center, plus body sculpting, right? They can sell those. And then we have our nurses who can sell hyperbaric, IVs, IMs, GLP-1s, regenerative medicine, stem cells, exosomes, NAD. They can do that and lifestyle services, but they can't sell body sculpting. So my nurses can't sell body sculpting, my health and wellness and my estheticians can't sell medical. So I kind of break it up to make it fair so everyone's got a fair opportunity. So there is a commission structure where they get a commission based upon every sell they have. So if someone walks through the door and gets an IV, even if I've paid Neil to get that guest in the door for me, that person, that sales staff, that RN, that health and wellness specialist will still get commission on that sell that they have. So whatever they sell, if they upsell them something, if they sell them a booster or they add some glutathione or they, bring them from a basic pass to an elite pass, then they get commission on that individual sale. That is the normal staff. My manager and my lead nurse, they get commission over the entire center. So my manager gets commission over the entire sales for the month, and my nurse gets commission of all the medical sales for the month. So that I think that if you're not commissioning your staff, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it is a huge motivational portion of them doing what they're doing and trying a little bit harder. Them just, making $20 an hour, $30 an hour is not what's important. What's important is the additional $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 at the end of the month, the check that I write them for the sales that they had on top of just doing their regular job.
Awesome.
So big piece, but know your numbers, know your sales per hour.
What's your LTV? Do you know?
It's a little over $6,000.
$6,000. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's in the one Loudon Center that's been open for about coming up on 2 years in May, but it's about $6,000 is what the LTV is for the guests.
And the longer you're open, that number is going to grow, which is
correct.
Which is amazing. So cool. Couple of fun questions for you.
Yes.
What is your favorite absolutely trash fast food? What is your guilty pleasure that you're telling publicly to us today, but you wouldn't tell your family about?
It is terrible. It is street vendors in DC. So working in DC for, the Department of Defense, you're always on the go and you're always busy. So when I'm in DC, I will find a street truck, and I don't care whether it is mushed rat. I don't know what's in half this stuff, but they have some of the best food that is on this planet. So if I see a food truck, if we're in DC and I see a food truck, I'm stopping. It's terrible, but I'm stopping.
Cool. What is your favorite luxury brand?
Are we talking in general? Are we talking
Anything,
cars?
anything.
Oh my God. Favorite luxury brand. I would say if it was anything, it would have to be an Aston Martin. Aston Martin is just something that is got to be my favorite in the world.
Cool. As we come up here to the end of the hour, Chris, any final words of advice to any entrepreneurs listening to this conversation?
Yeah, I would say your guest comes first. The guest experience is the most important thing that you have in this whole process. If you don't make them feel like they're elevated, then they're never going to come back. They have to feel like they're the most important person in the world. So do all you can to make that experience so good, they have to come back. That's first and foremost. And second, training, training, and training. Never stop training. Every quarter, I have quarterly sales training. We shut the sitter down for an entire day. I don't care if you've been an employee of mine for 2 years or you've been an employee of mine for two days. It is required. We will all be in there for updated training. It's an all-day session. We go over sales. We go over services. We go over consultations. All of that is done. Always be learning. Learn every day. Ask your guest, how are we doing? Don't be afraid. I know Google reviews are out there, but not everybody's going to give you a Google review. I mean, I have 5,000 service visits a month in One Loudon, and we've got, 400, reviews, which I guess is pretty good considering, we've been open less than 2 years. We got 400 reviews, but I got 5,000 visits a month times 24 months. Not everybody leaves a review, but ask them. People will tell you. Use the knowledge, the experience of that guest to make your center better. Last but not least, and it is one of my pet peeves, keep your center clean. It has to be clean. There are so many places that I go into that are just dirty. Make sure that you have the cleanest center that you can have, the cleanest clinic that you can have. A lot of the people listening have medical services that they offer. Don't have needle caps that fell on the floor or that are behind the chairs that you're sitting in. Don't have dust bunnies running around. People notice it. They absolutely notice it. And if you go out and look at the reviews for every center that I own, all of them that are open, the consistent theme is going to be, I can't believe how clean it was. It's got to be clean. People remember it. That includes your bathrooms. I know it sounds silly, but people notice a dirty bathroom right off the bats, and it diminishes their experience, right? Keep it clean. And if you do that, you keep it clean, you make sure you elevate their experience, you'll be wildly successful.
Thank you so much, Chris. Where can people find you?
They can find us in Northern Virginia, in Ashburn, and One Loudon. We have a location in Fairfax Corner, in Northern Virginia and Fairfax. We have 2 locations in Raleigh, North Carolina, one in North Hills, the other one in Waverly Place, actually there in Cary, with 2 new locations that are opening up in Reston, Virginia, and Clarendon, Virginia here, probably by the end of Q3, and always online at iCRYO.com.
Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate you.